Hello, guys. So today I'm going to start talking about something a lot of people have been asking: how to build a team. There isn't a one size fits all. It's very complex. It's going to depend what players you have, what legendaries you have, what season twos you have. But even there are a few things that are going to keep reappearing. So to start with the front line. In a front line, there are really only three ways you can build it. The very first is going to be the most common. It's going to be two passers and one striker. And the most common when I'm talking about that is always going to be to throw our great friends Celia and Luca. And that's why they're considered the cancer. And the second thing you want to look at when you're doing this is exactly their placement bonus. As I've seen a lot of people who decided to put Celia in center in top mid. It doesn't work. You want to max out on those bonuses. And then your striker usually has this slot as a bonus. So the idea here is that when the ball comes up, you pass it to one of those passers. They're going to do an active pass, and he's going to be able to strike. The reason why we have her is because of her penetration, her ace. And the reason we have Luca is because of speed and speed reduce. So those are the main reasons why you're going to be running those two. It's considered cancer because everyone's going to follow this. And actually, my backline is actually built on the fact of being able to destroy them. So it's very ironic for a lot of players when they're going to be facing me, as long as I can move around these when I feel like it. So it depends how they place it. If you manually set it up, you can actually beat that. So it's basically who's controlling the team placement. So that is the very first formation. The second formation, a little bit less popular. It's more common to be doing this when you're trying to grind COD or you're doing something with more objective-ish, is you're going to do two strikers and one passer in the center. But the reason you have two strikers is not going to be the one you think. It's not so one uses as active and the other one uses. Take a striker that a lot of people are going to use to illustrate this example. People are going to be using Celia, Luca. It doesn't make a difference which one you put here. They're going to put Char, and they're going to try to put a utility striker who affects the team. The majority of this are in the light. So unless you have these strikers, it won't work. But if you do, the most popular one is always going to be Latios. The reason for that is that whenever she shoots, she's going to heal the entire team, who's a very good mechanic. So you're going to pass to her, she's going to shoot, you steal the ball back, and then Char already has her action speed maxed out to shoot again. So it's basically the principle of cannon firing. It only backfires when the enemy goalkeeper has some form of heal. So if it's a Celia, if it's a Lucian, if it's an Ire or Iru, it's the new green one who has a 30% heal if you're lucky. So this is the one limitation of this formation. And then the very last one is actually putting one passer and in the center putting an attacker. And the idea of this is actually to steal the ball back. Again, I'm just going to be putting some that actually are very common. So one of the very common ones is Guinevere. She's very decent at stealing the ball back with her violent attack. She gets even the chance to attack twice. She's got a pretty decent line buff. So she is very popular for this role. Again, depending on your element and your exact formation, this might be different. But if you want to run it randomish, she's a very decent option. So for Rainbow, she could work. Now, these are the three main formations. Then they are what I'm going to consider the exceptions. The exceptions are strikers who have special skills, who are going to be highly affected by the line. And if you put them in the regular setup of two passers, who's the most common, they're not going to shine. They're going to be total jokes. So of course, as a lot of you have noticed from my previous videos, I run Avanchi. So if you look at Avanchi, he shines because of action speed. So unlike most players, you're going to want a Milky Way just for that speed. Welton's not bad, and there's another reason for him, but that's not actually what's important. You could even imagine that I put a Cilia here. It makes no difference. Well, the thing is that if I had a Cilia, it would be Cilia on the left, Milky Way in the center, but that's a detail. The point is, if you're running a Vanchi, you want speed. If you're running a Raven, a Ravian, sorry for the pronunciation, or actually I'm not really sure how it's pronounced anyway, because it's Chinese, so it literally is, for once. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to build some reflex, and actually throwing in, as I said, she is a niche player, throwing in a Lilith, giving her some heal, because every time she shoots, she's going to try to steal back the ball from the goalkeeper. So she's going to need that reflex. She's really going to need it, because if she can't steal, it breaks the fundamental point of this player. So again, if you have a striker with special conditions, this might be a little bit different. There are very few in the game, so you don't need to worry. A lot of players are going to advise you to go with a very simple one-hit KO striker with no special conditions. So it's very good. Unless, again, one of the two I mentioned, there's might be one or two more that I'm not thinking of right now, but those are the ones you're going to be thinking of. So now to go to the second most important thing, the midline. So the midline is something that's going to be a bit more technical. There's mainly two ways to build it. Of course, people are going to get angry at me and tell me there's only one. So the very first way to build it is going to be to build it on reflex. That's the way of PvP. So I'm currently working on a special reflex team only for PvP. As well, if I don't do that, I'm going to get outranked in reflex, and it's very frustrating. So for that, what you're going to be looking for is mainly players that have totem line skills. So again, I'm running a few legends, but there are a lot of good players who have skills like this. You just gotta look at their passives, look at their chains. Every element has some good totems. Just check also that if the game doesn't tell you that they're placing them in mid, that should be an indication. So just be careful on that. For example, I don't know, we could take Anael. Well, her advantage is actually that she's going to give you some counterattack resistance, who means that when she's attacking, she will have a lower chance of being stolen by reflex. And she increases attack power. She has super play, that means she can attack 2 times. She can be good in mid or in backline. There's a lot of players like this. So what you're always going to want to have do is have a center player who's going to be what we call the ball holder. Because at the very beginning of the match, especially in PvE, the enemies are always going to be faster than you. They're going to have at some point some insane speeds. I mean 110, 120 when the game begins without activating any buffs, and it's going to only get worse as the game goes on. So you want someone to be holding the ball and to protect you from this. So a lot of players have what we call some ball holding skills, meaning the skill is going to say we decrease damage or we do something if you get attacked. So in the dark, the most common is always going to be Metatron, but for a lot of you who can't actually get legends, there are a lot of very viable options. Off of the top of my head, I'm going to say Sammy is one of the most popular ones in lightish teams. In special players, lately, there has been Jury who has been thrown in, and whenever she gets attacked, whoever is attacking her is going to reduce the hype of the entire line on their side. It does get reduced, but when you're trying to do a fast game, it can give you a pretty decent edge. So the center one is usually going to be of the leader type, and is going to have some sort of line buff or some sort of upgrade buff. If not, it doesn't make a difference. He's just there to hold the ball. So you're going to try to build him reflex and survival. Then there are 2 other sides, the left and the right. This is really up to you which way you want to do it. I mainly try to have 1 penetrator, 1 stealer. But again, this is really up to you. If you look here, I would consider, well, Beth is a penetrator. And Malcolm, I somehow messed up his build. I don't know how. he ended up with 2.5k reflex. It's just weird. I don't understand what's going on with him. So he's at some point he became a stealer in my team. But you're gonna try to have one penetrator and one official stealer. The only exception to this is if you have multiple legends and most of them are penetrators, it doesn't matter. A lot of legends are really good with good line buffs, but the goal of the game is not to just stick all your legends on the field, because after a certain point, you're going to be limited by that. Yes, legend players are good, but they need a line to function. Some of them, to be honest, function with basically everything. I mean, for example, Balteon, we don't care what team you got. You can just stick him there. He's going to work. Metatron is basically the same. Beth is a little bit more technical, but she's still going to run. Well, Beth and Meta work very well. Duke is where it starts getting hard. And then if you're, for example, running Jhin, you need to specialize your front line. And it's going to only get worse from there. So running Legends is an exception, but it's not always the solution. And now I'm going to start talking about the backline. So the backline, as you see, is at the end right here, is something that a lot of people, and well, sadly me at the beginning especially, are going to underestimate. Because when you start the game, you're going to be playing PvE a lot, and you're just never going to see them pass your mid line. You're going to be playing a bit of PvP, and at the beginning, no one has a good mid line, so it's a 50-50 chance, you don't know what to do, and no one cares. But after a certain point, you're going to start realizing that people are going to get through your mid line by reflex, by long passes, by mid passes, and now you need some way to get the ball back. So there are a few methods for this. The most common way is to build it based on your goalkeeper. A few goalkeepers have different skills, so you want to look at that, and you really want to get your goalkeeper to have a chain, because the minute he dies, even if your entire line is alive, they shoot, you lose. So you just want to be sure that they live. So if you see right here, Maisila has a chain, so you want to check those chains. And I'm going to eventually max this out, but you want to really work on chains of your goalkeeper. So on your line, you're going to have some. Then you're going to want a lot of life totems, especially if you can also get some damage reduce and some reflex. Those are the most popular ones. And well, as we call him, one of the worst backline salty players, if you get a Virgil, you can traumatize your enemies by using your active and recover your entire team life by 60%. And that's not even what makes him broken. So there are a lot of broken backliners depending on your setup. If you're going Wormwind, there's Miho. I mean, it really depends what you're doing, and it depends your goalkeeper. So slowly look at your element, but you want your backline to give some defense buffs to your goalkeeper and to give some buffs to themselves. The second thing is, very fast, you're going to realize that the striker is always going to be in this slot. So if you look at it and you inverse the team, that means he's shooting right here. So you want whatever's here, or sometimes here. Basically, these two sides need to have a very good survival rate. And when you start the match, you can look at the enemy's team and switch them between each other. So it's not really that important. A lot of them have just line positions, so it's not major. And the middle one is going to be a penetrator or a totem. If you're running a rainbow team, what I'm really going to advise is to throw in a Yuri, because she has 3 skills that are line buffs. So she's basically known as one of the ultimate totems of this game. So if you can run her, and she even has a penetration to leave the line, she could be not bad. So what you're going to want is 2 survivors, a penetrator. If some of those survivors can be also stealers, that's very nice. You will rarely penetrate out of these sides. It's usually the mid, because people don't want their striker to be there, so it's going to work very well. Also, if you can, never steal from a striker, because, well, their entire power comes from dribble, and when you attack someone holding the ball, they do damage. But if you hold the ball, penetrating through them is actually not that hard. So you just want to be sure of the difference. And the very last slot is down here. It's the goalkeeper. Lately, I've seen some very funky things go down. So just to put a little bit of a record straight, a goalkeeper cannot be a midline defender. It cannot be a frontline defender. We should not, last game I saw a Metatron right here. Look for something that's called a goalkeeper. There is a reason why they're called goalkeepers. You only want 5 stars. Mine is 6-star, but that's because we upgrade. Natively, it's a 5-star. Some are good, some are bad. So also look at your team setup. Basically, when you're looking at a goalkeeper, you got 2 options. A goalkeeper that can heal itself, or a goalkeeper that can just be more resistant. So if you get the second, it's nice to try to have something that can also heal him back. Again, our nice friend, the Salty Virgil. Or your goalkeeper can heal, or he can even heal the entire line, as there is that annoying Lucian, whose stats are pretty close to Jin's, even though he has actually been nerfed to cancel that out. But the nerf is not that important. You can still live pretty well if you're running him in back. And the last slot is going to be the support player. So the support player can be placed anywhere between these 3 lines. So you're going to want to put something who you think is going to be valuable. Depending on your team, your formation, where you're lacking, you're going to place it differently. And again, the good thing with it is that it's going to allow you to put 2 players in mid. So if you look at their ideal positions, this can sometimes be very nice. For example, I have Metatron here as she's the ball holder, but I could stick my support player on the right, and this would force my Valkyrie Beth to be in center mid position, increasing her stats for literally doing nothing. So this is something that you're going to want to try to do whenever you can. When I place it, I try to always give the most line bonuses, and you must always think of giving the line bonuses to the most important players. So center mid, strikers, the side defenders, and the goalkeeper are the ones you really care about. The other ones, as long as they're on one of the yellow dots, it's fine. It doesn't need to be the red ones. So I hope this has helped a lot of people understand how to build a team. If there's any more questions or on other mechanics, I'm going to look at that. But that was just for player position. And now just to speak on general on team building, there are around 3 ways to build a team. There's a mono, there's a dual, and there's the rainbow. The mono, there's honestly at this point in time only 2 really viable colors. That's going to be Thunder, so the blue cards, and that's going to be Wormwind. Wormwind can destroy Thunder, so I think anyone who's running Wormwind, and I hate anyone running Thunder, SF my team is light. But the idea behind this is both of them have very good chains, and their team have basically everything they need, unlike other colors when you're missing certain types of players. For example, if you go on the lights, getting a backline player is pretty hard to get the best ones. And Thunder, they just have so many buffs in all Thunders on the team that it actually makes sense to keep Thunder. Now for Dual, those are the times when you're going to see Light, Dark, Andor, and sometimes Wormwind. You just combine them. It depends your players, it depends your style, it depends your legend. There's no one size fits all. In my case, I am Light Dark, and I have 1 Magnus because, like I said, I'm missing something good in backline. So, me, it's a dual. I got a dual ace. There are those. And then what we got is Rainbow, meaning we don't care the color of anything. So, I'm thinking of maybe building one for PvP. So, I was just testing out some ideas. The community was advising this. I mean, I do have a lot of good players. I'm also removing this one, and you just play around and you try stuff, and you have multiple colors. A lot of the players here, if you ignore this one, I'm just going to dismiss her for the point of this, are all very good. This would be a decently solid team. So all you're going to want to try to do is decide what type of team you want and then work towards it. And what you got to look at is what aces you got, because a lot of the time, you're going to realize you don't have a dual ace or you don't have the team ace you want. So just be careful, and that's one of the reasons why Sylvia is popular, because she has a decent damage reduced ace to the entire team. So I hope this has helped people understand exactly what teams are, how you think about them, and what types they are. Have a nice day.